Let's go out to Jessica in Seattle. What's up, Jessica?
Hi, Dr. John. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. This feels a little surreal. I'm really happy to talk to you.
I don't ever get to talk to Seattle people. It's the home
Really?
that's the birthplace of Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and all the good Soundgarden.
It is. We're just up here being depressed, so we can't get on the phone to call you because the weather's so bad.
I know. We don't have any good music coming out of Nashville because we're all too busy being outside and enjoying the weather and all that kind of stuff.
All that vitamin D.
See, we're so overjoyed. We don't know what to do with ourselves. That's right.
That's right. You guys got to work on that.
We will. All right. So what's up?
I want to ask you. I don't hear a lot of borderline personality questions from when I've listened to you before. I've got a 70-year-old mom with borderline personality disorder. I am her only child. She is divorced. And I'm kind of watching her taking a steep decline since she and my dad got divorced. And I just need some advice from you on what you think I should do or if I should be doing any more than I'm already doing.
Who diagnosed her? Is that a true diagnosis or is that just off the internet?
So I grew up believing that she was manic depressive. And then last year, she told me that the counselor or the therapist that she's been meeting reviewed her notes from when she was hospitalized, maybe like 30 years ago. And there was a BPD diagnosis in there.
Oh my gosh, that's so not helpful. Okay.
Yeah. So this is totally like very new information for me. But when I looked into it, completely checks out.
Yeah. So one, I don't like cold case diagnostics. I don't like looking at data from 30 years ago and trying to retro a situation. Okay.
Okay.
Here's why.
Okay.
Because 30 years ago, they were not asking questions about trauma. They weren't asking questions about environment. They weren't asking questions about grief. So, meaning you could do an intake at some of these places and your husband had just died. And they would ask you on the questionnaire, are you having suicidal thoughts? Yes. Or are you struggling with this? Yes. Are you struggling with this? Yes. Bam, diagnosis.
Okay.
And so there's, I don't, she needs to go get checked out now. Needs to go sit with somebody now. If she will. If she won't, she won't.
She is actively in therapy or counseling of some sort now.
Okay. All right. So let's move over to she truly has borderline personality disorder. I'm of the opinion outside of what I would call true psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia, those are challenging. But there's entire specialties there. Borderline personality disorder is, I think it's the toughest thing to deal with, both as a clinician, both as a family member, both as somebody suffering from borderline personality disorder. Here's why.
Yeah.
Your core signals are off.
Yes.
Fear, love, on my team, against me, those are so amplified in a way that, if you grew up with it and it's true, then there were days when your mom would hold your face and look you in the eyes and say, every day of my life, I thank God that you're my daughter. You're the greatest daughter that has ever existed. Mm-hmm. And as a 10-year-old, you can hardly breathe because your chest is so puffed up and you're so excited. And then later that afternoon, your mom will sit down and take a knee and say, everything about you disgusts me. My life would be so much better if you weren't here. And you as a 10-year-old are going, right? Does that track?
There were a lot of ups and downs. I think my mom did more sleeping than she did like laying into me about things.
So avoidance?
It was either she was feeling great and she was being crafty and creative, or she was sleeping, or she was down.
Okay. That doesn't ring the borderline bells to me.
Well, we also had an opiate addiction, so
because why not, right?
Yeah,
Jessica, lead with that. So
I'm sorry. There's so many layers to this. I wasn't sure even what to start with.
No, hey, I'm messing with you. I know this is. I'm trying to bring some levity. I know this is a mess. So let's think outside the diagnosis. Okay.
Okay.
And that's something with one of my friends call me when I'm just having a personal conversation with my buddies. That's one of the most common things I say is, like, let's think out of the diagnosis. Let's just look at the world that's in front of us. Okay.
All right.
You've got a mom that is fill in the blank for me. She's what?
I have a mom who I haven't seen in 6 months.
Okay.
She lives 5 minutes from me.
Okay. You haven't seen her because she won't see you. She's avoids you. You don't go over there. She's a hoarder.
Because she is a hoarder.
Okay.
I think for the holidays, she opted out of the holidays. She said
Okay.
she wasn't feeling well.
Okay.
I didn't hear from her on my birthday, which this is the first year that's ever happened.
Okay.
I think she's just in such a deep, dark place right now that she doesn't want her grandkids to see her like that, and she doesn't want. She just wants to tell us she doesn't feel well to avoid like any intervention we think we might need to have with her.
What has kept you from going to knock on the door and say, "You're my mom and I love you and you're not okay"?
I don't know if I have a solution to offer her when she collapses and says, I'm not okay, because she's told me she's not okay for 43 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel equipped to solve whatever problem she, presents to me.
Okay. So one thing I would recommend you do, and again, I want to honor this powerlessness. I get it. She's an adult, and there's nothing harder than seeing people that we love who are adults struggling, and they don't invite us into that conversation, or they present us, they drop bricks in our backpack that I don't know what to do with this. I don't have the training, I don't have the skill set, I don't have anything like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to tell you, if this was my mom, what I would do, because I don't have the training to sit down and do borderline personality disorder. And at 70, I can't imagine the entrenchment. I've never even read about somebody trying to heal from borderline at 70. Okay.
Yeah.
I just walked alongside so many of my college students, and it was hard. It was really difficult because they had to learn that when they felt scared, that they might not, their bodies are lying to them. Is basically you got to get to where I have to step back from my emotions and recalibrate, and it's just hard. It's really hard to do. So if I'm you, I would reach out to her current therapist. Do you know who that person is?
No, I don't.
Okay. I would do everything I could to find out who that person is.
Okay.
And they can't, unless your mom has written a release to where you can talk to that person. They can tell you that she's even a client.
Okay.
They can take information one way, meaning you can write her counselor a letter, put it in writing or an email, and say, my mom is expressing things in a way that is making me think she's suicidal, or she is on a deep negative trajectory.
Yeah.
And I'm very worried about her, and I'm interested in partnering with you if you think there is a need. And a counselor, if there is a direct threat to self or others, can breach that confidentiality. It's a nuclear option, but they can do that.
Okay.
I'll also say, if she's seeing somebody and this person is competent and they're licensed and all that stuff, then they should be trained to know, I'm watching a trend line here that is making me uncomfortable and making me nervous. I've got to reach out to
some lifeline.
That's right.
Okay.
I've got to reach out to a psychiatrist or to a team or to a social worker or to a family or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, and it may be that you ask your mom. I'm not in a position. I don't know how to help you with your addiction. I don't know how to help you with your mental health stuff. I would love to partner with your counselor so that you have support everywhere.
That's a good suggestion.
And what she can do is sign a release and give you their counselor permission to talk back and forth with you.
Okay. I think she'd be willing to tell me who she's talking to right now.
Okay.
I think she might be open to that.
Okay. Sometimes they will write back and say, I am not currently seeing a client named Kelly.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a big indicator, right? Often they'll say,
what indicator?
It's a big indicator. Maybe your mom's not seeing somebody and you think she is.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah. Right.
Or she saw somebody 3 years ago and that's quote unquote her person. And so she's going to somebody, right?
Okay.
All I have to say is this. I'd also would reach out to social services or local services in your area that help the elderly, possible have conversations about assisted living. If I don't know what your finances are, we're having broader conversations now because we're 70 and mom's still struggling with addiction. And now she's starting to shutter the doors, trying to disappear on us. And again, I hate this because mom can say, leave me alone. Oh my gosh, leave me alone. And I can't think of a more gut wrenching, horrible like situation to be in. So let's exhaust every possible avenue for support and care. You're not going to be the therapist. You're not going to be the person writing scripts. You're not going to be the person actually doing the care. You might be the hub of the wheel for a while, playing traffic cop, playing direct. Like, have you talked to this person? Have you talked to this person? But at the end of the day, unfortunately, your mom's going to have to make some final decisions. The last option you got is to file a petition with the local court to take away her rights, that she is she's unable to make decisions for herself. She's a harm to self or others, and you need to step in. And that's going to depend on, man, who's her caretaker. You have to get with your brothers and sisters and have that conversation. That's a broader conversation, and that's a last option, right? Because you're saying this person can't take care of themselves. They can't make adult decisions for themselves. I need to step in and be their caretaker. And then the burden of proof is on you to prove that this person can't do that. And that's a tough road to hoe, but just for what it's worth, I'm grateful to know people like you love their mom. And I know that's been a tough life that you've lived with a woman who's had a lot of struggles, really been struggling. Let's think outside the diagnosis right now and focus less on Googling things about, manic depressive bipolar disorder, or Googling things about borderline personality, just all that stuff. And instead, let's focus on resources in our local community for helping mom, and bring in your brothers and sisters in on this one. I'm so sorry, Jessica. Let me know if I can help in any other way.